Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day of reading mythology with Daniel. I hope everybody's doing well. It looks like the weather's cleared up a little bit, but another storm, grossness, cold front, whatever you want to call it, is coming back in. So be prepared this weekend. Plan accordingly. Don't panic buy. There's no reason to panic buy unless it's something that's last minute. You have enough time to prepare yourself for the upcoming whatever it is, right? Anyway, last time we were together, we were talking about the Golden Fleece and how Jason found a wife, Cuba with the arrow, was going to shoot him, wants the Golden Fleece. Everybody caught up, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to start back a little bit and I'm going to move forward. This should be wrapping up today, but no telling. Right now, we've got Jason on this island, passing 2 islands of only women to get to this one island, and he was given a task that was thought to be undoable. Okay, let's get to it. Let's see. Jason answered that they were all men of the noblest birth. That's when they finally got there after they eaten and bathed, and then the noblest birth, because the king wanted to know. Okay. Sons or grandsons of the gods who had sailed from Greece in the hope that he would give them the Golden Fleece in return for whatever service he would ask of them. They would conquer his enemies for him or do anything he wished. A great anger filled the king as a great king's heart as he listened. He did not like foreigners any more than Greeks did. He wanted them to keep away from his country, and he said to himself, "If these strangers had not eaten at my table, I would kill them." In silence, he pondered what he should do, and a plan came to him. He told Jason that he bore no grudge against brave men, and if they proved themselves such, he would give them the fleece. Liar. I smell a liar. And the trial of your courage, he said, shall only be what I myself have done. This was to yoke 2 bulls he had, whose feet were bronze and whose breath was a flaming fire, and with them to plow a field. That's great. Then the teeth of a dragon must be cast into the furrows, like seed corn, which would spring up at once into a crop of armed men. These must be cut down as they advance to the crop of a crop of armed men. These must be cut down as they advance to the attack of fearful harvesting. These are so silly. I understand these are fables, but this is silly, right? For a time, Jason sat speechless. I wonder why. Because the king said he was not going to give the fleece to any man lesser than he, or less brave than I. The contest seemed impossible, beyond the strength of anyone. Finally he answered, "I will make the trial, monstrous though it is, even if it is my doom to die." With that he rose up and led his comrades back to the ship for the night. But Medea's thoughts followed him after him. Although the long night, when he had left the palace, she seemed to see him. All through the long night. My bad. His beauty and his grace, and to hear the words he had uttered. Her heart was tormented with fear for him. She guessed what her father was planning. He's going to kill him. Returned to the ship. The heroes held a council, and one and another urged Jason to let him take the trial upon himself, but in vain Jason would yield to none of them. As they talked, there came to them one of the king's grandsons whose life Jason once had saved. And he told them of Medea's magic power. There was nothing she could not do, he said. Check the stars even, and the moon. If she were persuaded to help, she could make Jason able to conquer the bulls and the dragon-teeth men. It seemed only the plan that offered any hope, and they urged the prince to go back and try to win Medea over, not knowing that the god of love had already done that. Ooh, the plot thickens. The plot thickens. She sat alone in her room, weeping and telling herself that she was ashamed forever because she cared so much for a stranger that she wanted to yield to a mad passion and go against her father. Far better die, she said. She took in her hand a casket which held herbs for killing, but as she sat there with it, she thought of life and the delightful things that are in the world. And the sun seemed sweeter than ever before. She put the casket away. It's fitting it being a casket, I think. And no longer wavering, she determined to use her power for the man she loved. This love stuff gets thrown around so easily. She had a magic ointment which would make him who rubbed it on his body safe for that day. He could not be harmed by anything. The plant it was made from sprang up first when Prometheus's blood dripped upon the earth. She put it in her bosom and went to find her nephew, the prince whom Jason had helped. She met him as he was looking for her to beg her to do just what she had already decided on. That's great. She agreed at once to all he said and sent him to the ship to tell Jason to meet her without delay in a certain place. As soon as he heard the message, Jason started, and he went to Hera, shed radiant grace upon him, so that all who saw him marveled at him. When he reached Medea, it seemed to her as if her heart left her to go with him. A dark mist clouded her eyes, and she had no strength to move. The two stood face to face without a word, as lofty pine trees when the wind was still. Then again, when the wind stirs, they murmur. So these two also, stirred by the breath of love, were fated to tell out all their tale to each other. He spoke first and implored her to be kind to him. He could not but have hope, he said, because her loveliness must surely mean that she excelled in gentle courtesy. But that's not the truth. We all know that's not true. Some of the meanest people are the most beautiful. She did not know how to speak to him. She wanted to pour out all she had felt at once. Silently, she drew the box of ointment from her bosom and gave it to him. She would have given her soul to him if he'd asked her. And now both were fixing their eyes on the ground, abashed, and again were throwing glances at each other, smiling with love's desire. At last, Medea spoke and told him how to use the charm, and when it was sprinkled on his weapon, it would make them, as well as himself, invincible for a day. If too many of the dragon teeth men rushed to attack him, he must throw a stone into their midst, which would make them turn against each other and fight until all were killed. I must go back to the palace now, she said, but when you are once more safe at home, remember me, as I will remember you forever. He answered passionately, never by night and never by day will I forget you. If you will come to Greece, you shall be worshipped for what you have done for us, and nothing except death will come between us. Those are kind of pretty words, kind of beautiful. Something nice to tell somebody, I think. They parted, she to the palace to weep over her treachery to her father, he to his ship to send 2 of his comrades for the dragon's teeth. Meantime, he made trial of the ointment, and at the touch of it, a terrible, irresistible power entered into him, and the heroes were all exalted. Yet, even so, when they reached the field where the king and the people were waiting, and the bulls rushed out from their lair, breathing forth flames of fire, terror overcame them. But Jason withstood the fearful creatures as a great rock in the sea withstands the waves. He forced first one and then the other down on its knees and fastened the yoke upon them, while all wondered at his mighty prowess. Over the field he drove them, pressing the plow down firmly and casting the dragon's teeth into the furrows. By the time the plowing was done, the crop was springing up, men bristling with arms who came rushing to attack him. Jason remembered Medea's words and flung a huge stone into their midst. With that, the warriors turned upon each other and fell beneath their own spears while the furrows ran with blood. So Jason's contest was ended in victory, bitter to the king. The king went back to the palace, planning treachery against the heroes and vowing they should never have the golden fleece. But Hera was working for them. She made Medea all bewildered with love and misery, determined to fly with Jason. That night she stole out of the house and sped along a dark path to the ship, where they were rejoicing in their good fortune with no thought of evil. She fell on her knees before them and begged them to take her with them. They must get the fleece at once, she told them, and then make haste all the way or they would be killed. A terrible serpent guarded the fleece, but she would lull it to sleep so that it would do them no harm. She spoke in anguish, but Jason rejoiced and raised her gently, embraced her, and promised her she would be his own wedded wife when once they were back in Greece. This sounds like it's going to not be good. Then taking her on board, they went where she directed and reached the sacred grove where the fleece hung. The guardian serpent was very terrible, but Medea approached it fearlessly and singing a sweet magical song, she charmed it to sleep. Swiftly Jason lifted the golden wonder from the tree it hung on, and hurrying back they reached the ship as dawn was breaking. The strongest were put at the oars, and they rowed with all their might down the river to the sea. By now, what had happened was known to the king, and he sent his son in pursuit, Medea's brother. I'm going to call her brother for now. Aphistrisis? I don't know. I'm going to pause it. Absyrtus. We're going to go there so I don't butcher it. He led an army so great that it seemed impossible for the little band of heroes either to conquer it or to escape. But Medea saved them again. This time by a horrible deed. She killed her brother. Some say she sent him word that she was longing to go back to her home and that she had the fleece for him if he would meet her that night at a certain spot. He came all unsuspecting, and Jason struck him down, and his dark blood dyed his sister's silvery robe as she shrank away. With its leader dead, the army scattered in disorder, and the way to the sea lay open to the heroes. Others say that the brother set sail on Argo with Medea, although why he did so is not explained, and that it was the king who pursued them. As his ship gained on them, Medea herself stuck her brother down and, cutting him limb from limb, cast the pieces into the sea. The king stopped to gather them, and the Argo was saved. That is terrible. That is terrible. It's like murdering your brother over somebody you just met. You just met this person, and you're already killing family members. By then, the adventurers of the Argonauts were almost over. One terrible trial they had while passing between the smooth sheer rock and the whirlpool of Charybdis, where the sea forever spouted and roared, the furious waves mounting up touched the very sky. But Hera had seen to it that sea nymphs should be at hand to guide them and send the ship on to safety. Next came Crete, where they would have landed but for Medea. She told them that Talus lived there, the last man left of the ancient bronze race, a creature made of all bronze except for one ankle, where alone he was vulnerable. Even as she spoke, he appeared, terrible to behold, and threatened to crush the ship with rocks if they drew nearer. Like, was he on the shore? Was he just massive and lived inside the water? How could they hear him? Did he God speak? Did he I don't know. I don't understand. Anyway, they rested on their oars, and Medea kneeled praying to the hounds of Hades to come and destroy him. The dread powers of evil heard her. As the bronze lifted a pointy crag to hurl it at the Argo, he grazed his ankle and blood gushed forth until he sank and died. Fantastic. It's like these people are just like, this is... She has all the powers, I guess. I mean, she can do whatever she wants. That can be... It's like, this is the type of person you don't want to piss off because she will kill you, obviously. She's killed a lot of people so far. Great. Then the heroes could land and refresh themselves for the voyage still before them. So the bronze guy was like, don't come any closer or I'm going to destroy your ship. And then instead of like, okay, like, was that the only island in the vicinity? They were like, nah, we'll just kill him and take his stuff. That's fine. It's good. It's great. Boy, I tell you what. Upon reaching Greece, they disbanded, each hero going to his home. And Jason with Medea took the golden fleece to the king. But they found that terrible deeds had been done there. He had forced Jason's father to kill himself, and his mother had died of grief. Jason, bent upon punishing his wickedness, turned to Medea for help, which had never failed him. She brought about death of the king by a cunning trick. To his daughters she said that she knew a secret, how to make the old young again. And to prove her words, she cut up before them a ram worn out with many years, and put the pieces into a pot of boiling water. She uttered a charm, and in a moment out from the water sprang a lamb and ran frisking away. The maidens were convinced. Medea gave the king a potent sleeping draught and called upon his daughters to cut him into bits. With all their longing to make him young again, they could hardly force themselves to do so. But at last the dreadful task was done, the pieces in the water, and they looked to Medea to speak the magic words that would bring him back to them into his youth. But she was gone from the palace and from the city. And horrified, they realized that they were their father's murderers. Fantastic. Jason was revenged, indeed. This witch, she's a little evil. She's a little evil. Hopefully he doesn't speak incorrectly or something, piss her off. Imagine she'll make his feet so big he can't walk. Or maybe missing an eyeball, or close your mouth where you can't breathe. Your whole, could you imagine? Holy crap. There is a story too that Medea restored Jason's father to life and made him young again, and that she gave to Jason the secret of perpetual youth. All that she did of evil and good was done for him alone, and in the end, all the reward she got was that he turned traitor to her. That's great. They came to Corinth after the king's death. 2 sons were born to them, and all seemed well. Even to Medea in her exile, lonely as exile must always be, but her great love for Jason made the loss of her family and country seem to her a little thing. And then Jason showed the meanness that was in him. Brilliant hero though he had seemed to be, he engaged himself to marry the daughter of the king of Corinth. It was a splendid marriage, and he thought of ambition only, never of love or of gratitude. In the first amazement at his treachery, and in the passion of her anguish, Medea let fall words which made the king of Corinth fear she would do harm to his daughter. He must have been a singularly unsuspicious man not to have thought of that before. And he sent word that she and her sons must leave the country at once. That was a doom almost as bad as death. A woman in exile with little helpless children had no protection for herself or them. That is wild. As she sat brooding over what she to do and thinking of her wrongs and her wretchedness, wishing for death to end the life she could no longer bear, sometimes remembering with tears her father and her home, sometimes shuddering at the stain nothing could wash out of her brother's blood. Of the king, too, conscious above all of the wild, passionate devotion that had brought her to this evil and this misery. As she sat thus, Jason appeared before her. She looked at him. She did not speak. He was there beside her, yet she was far away from him, alone with her outraged love and her ruined life. His feelings had nothing in them to make him silent. He told her coldly that he had always known how uncontrolled her spirit was. If it had not been for her foolish, mischievous talk about his bride, she might have stayed on comfortably in Corinth. However, he had done his best for her. It was entirely through his efforts that she was only to be exiled and not killed. He had had a very hard time indeed to persuade the king, but he had spared no pains. He had come to her now because he was not a man to fail a friend. Wow. And he would see that she had plenty of gold and everything necessary for her journey. This was too much. The torrent of Medea's wrongings burst forth. "You come to me," she said. "To me, of all the race of men. Yet it is well you came, for I shall ease the burden of my heart. If I can make your baseness manifest, I saved you. Every man in Greece knows that. The bulls, the dragoman, the serpent warder of the fleece, I conquered them. I made you victor. I held the light that saved you, father and home. I left them for a strange country. I overthrew your foes, contrived for the king the worst of deaths. Now you forsake me? Where shall I go? Back to my father's house? To the king's daughters? I have become for you the enemy of all. Myself, I had no quarrel with them. Oh, I have had in you a loyal husband to be admired of men, an exile now. Oh God, no one to help. I am alone." That is tragic. That is absolutely tragic. We're going to stop there for today. This dude is a piece of work, man. He could have had both. He could have had a devoted, loving, magical wife that had made him the best life ever. And you know what he did? He threw it all away for something that he could have had in the first place. It makes no sense. This dude's a piece of work. And then he turned on her. He took away from everything. Convinced her to kill people. And now she's in exile. Because he's doing the best he can. Yeah. Okay. This is liars. Ooh, man, this burns me up. What a piece of work. We're going to finish it tomorrow. And, see how it ends. Hopefully it ends really, really well for the witch. But hopefully this dude gets some kind of repercussions for his actions, man. Because this is ridiculous. No accountability. This is what no accountability gets you. Have a good day, guys. Thanks for coming to see me.